All right, what's up, everybody? It is Atlas, the Audi technician, here with you all once again. Time to learn you something today. So, what I got in store for you today, I am going to teach you how to remove and replace your alternator on this vehicle. It's not hard to do. Of course, I do have the vehicle on the lift right now. It's a little easier for me to do it on the lift, but if you do not have a lift, if you got ramps at the house and a jack, those will be the two things you would need. You at the bare minimum need a jack. If you have a stock height car, you can definitely do it on the ground. It's just a little more tricky if you have a lowered vehicle like mine. So let's get right into it. Also, apologize in advance if my voice seems louder than usual. I'm running my GoPro this time with my microphone setup versus my phone, which is what I used for my last video. So once I figure out like the volume setting and how loud I need to talk with this microphone, then I'll be pretty much permanently using this microphone setup. All right, so the first things first, I got my microphone sitting over here so it's somewhat out of the way so I can still use my hands and point out things to you. So I personally like to work top to bottom with items like this. So the first thing we're going to do is remove this top cover right here. So you got some 10 mils, some Phillips heads, and then for your headlights. And then of course, once you get all of those taken out, there will be some clamps back here. Now, if your car, some of our cars may or may not have these, but these clamps here, that's what keeps your hood cable in place, and you do not want to forget to put that back, trust me. And then of course I have zip ties here because I don't have clamps over here on this side. But again, you're going to take these 10s out and those Phillips heads out for the headlights, and then you'll be able to remove this out of the way. All right, so now once you've gotten those bolts up top here removed and you got your hood cable loose, there is two more in the front bolts that you want to get here, one right here and one right here. Take those out, and then you can take this cover off. All right, so next up, once we take that cover off, we're going to lift the car up, come over to either side fender well here, and there's going to be some bolts. Some of your cars may have more than one bolt. Mine has the 2 bolts here. So you're going to want to take these 2 Phillips heads out, and then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to skip the other side, and then we're going to go to the front grille. And I'm sure some of you may be wondering, why would I have zip ties on my grill? Well, these grills sometimes, you know, them being old, they can't snap in all the way. Sometimes these things will just pop out. And where I live, the major highway speed limit is 70 miles an hour. And of course, that means you're probably driving 80. Not me though, obviously, but you know, you're driving 80, and then next thing you know, your grill's gone. So, and these are not really easy to come by. All right, so now looking back here, you're gonna see these tabs, right? Let me see if I can zoom in. All right, this is actually as far as I can zoom in with this camera, but you're gonna have these tabs right here. And now for these tabs, you're gonna have to press them in. Essentially what I do is I press that top one in downwards, and then I press the bottom one in, so that way and then you just push it out just so it clears it. I'm gonna try to get it on camera, but I may not be able to, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to see very well. So coming up here, and I push this one down. I can get my hand all the way up in here. I push this one down some, and then I pinch with the other hand, or the thumb, and push it forward a little bit, just enough that it clears it. And once it does, I can go ahead and move on to the other side. And you might need 2 hands to do this, because there's one there, there's one here, and then there is one kind of on the other side under here, but I can't get it on camera right now. All right, and now once you get those loose, you can go ahead and pull these forward and out. And then bam, that's one. And then these 2 in the corners right here will pop right out with no effort. Actually, let me go ahead and, just so you guys can see, go ahead and pop this one out. So, and of course, when you put them back in, it's the same thing. There's a little tab on the corner here, and you want to make sure that lines up and it goes in the bumper, and then make sure that this pops back in. So very easy to take that part out. All right, so next up, now that we got the grill off, you're gonna want to, looking at where I'm at here, come up under here, and there's gonna be 2 of these hex bolts that are in this. It's very hard to see, but there's gonna be 2 of these bolts right here on each side, and there's gonna be one over here as well. And these hex bolts are a 6mm. All right, now, so from here, once you take those 2 bolts out, this whole thing will literally just be able to slide. So I'm gonna need both hands for this, but you can literally just slide this forward and make sure that you grab it, and this bumper is top heavy, meaning ain't nothing down here, everything's up here. So just make sure you are grabbing it from up top and place it somewhere where you can put it without scratching it. All right, so back over here. Now, before I continue, if you realize that the aspect ratio changed, that's because I just now realized it was in the wrong aspect ratio. But I am not redoing this video, at least those beginning parts, as the more critical parts are up ahead here. So hopefully you can bear with me, you can forgive me on that. So moving on to this next part, we're going to take these trim pieces off of here so we can take our headlights out. So the first thing you're going to do here, there's 2 10mm bolts on each side for each of these fenders, and then once you take these out, you'll be able to pull this side out like so, and then slide the whole thing out. All right, just so you can see on this side, I'm going ahead and pull this out. Took those 2 bolts out down here, and then this whole thing, just wiggle it a little bit and it slides out like so. All right, so now moving on to the headlights. So first thing you're going to do, you're going to go ahead and pull this wiper cover here forward. Kind of hard to do with one hand, but what you want to do is you want to kind of come up under here. Usually I come up under here and support it with 2 hands, and you're gonna have to gently pull this out. You do not want to break these, otherwise you're gonna have a really bad day. But it's gonna take some force, but they will come off. All right, and just so you can see, that's how that comes out right there, and it sticks in there. So you're just gonna have to, like I said, you can slide your hand up under here at this point and push this forward. And switch hands, and you can push this forward so that way you can get a grip on it, and then you're just gonna have to wiggle it out as best you can. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Now moving on over here, I'm gonna go ahead and do this real quick. You're gonna go ahead and unscrew these flat heads as well once you get this other side out, and then you're gonna do the same thing we did on the side fender, where you're gonna lift this corner forward and then you're gonna slide it out this way. All right, now to move this centerpiece here, there are 4 10mm bolts. There's one right there, you can see. Let me see, let me use the other side. One here, there's one here, there we go, one right there, and then there is one here and one right here. Now once you take those off, then you'll be able to slide the centerpiece out. All right, so next up, coming up here under the headlight, you got 2 Phillips heads under here, one here and one over here. And then after that, you got 3 of these connectors over here. One of them is hard to get to, but this one you press, pull, and then there is another one where this wire is that you have to press and pull, and then it comes out. And at this point, you can slide the whole headlight forward. After that, once you slide it forward, there will be a final connector that will be somewhat easy to get to once you slide it forward, and then the whole thing will come out. All right, so wanted to say something real quick. When you put this back together, because I'm not going to do a reassemble video, you want to make sure that this tab right here goes into this slot over here. and you want to make sure you push it as far in as you possibly can. And if you don't, you will have a gap issue. You'll see a gap in between here and here, and it's not really pretty to look at. So just make sure you do that right the first time, so you don't have to take it back apart again. All right, so next up, we're going to work on trying to slide this front forward, at least this corner. So the first thing you're going to do here is take usually there's supposed to be two here, but I only have one on mine. It's a Phillips head screw. You're going to want to take this off, and then you can slide the whole thing out. And then you're also going to want to take this headlight washer hose off, and you're going to need to take a 90-degree angle and kind of rotate it around back and forth until you can take this off, because this is difficult to take off if it's never been taken off. Now, I've taken mine off. This is probably my third time taking this thing off, because I've been having alternator issues. I want to say this is my third time actually doing something with this alternator. So, but yeah, like I said, take that Phillips head out, pulls this thing right out. After that, you got 13 mils down here. And I apologize for the light. Next time I do DIY, we'll have better lighting. But you're going to take these 13 mils and you're going to have to counter hold down here. There should be one on each side. And then same thing over here. This one's a little tricky, and I recommend using a wrench and using the open side of the wrench for the bottom to counter hold. Otherwise, you will break this sensor and have a really bad day. All right, so now that you've gotten everything loosened up, this is the point in which you want to start getting your jack ready to support this side of the core housing here for the front plate. And now you got a couple options here. So if you typically, what you can do is you can slide this out far enough and disconnect this top hose right here and disconnect this top hose right here, and I'll give you enough room to work with pulling the alternator out when you get to that point. Or you can take this intake hose off and then this line out as well, and then take it out that way. Now, I'm giving you that option because depending on some of you guys' setups, this may be different. For those of you who have an electric fan, some of y'all only have to really mess with this coolant line, and some of y'all may not even have to do any of this at all to get it out. There's one time I was able to take this out without even removing any of the coolant lines out of the way. However, it takes a lot more finagling than what I just explained. So now we're going to talk about taking this fan off, taking this belt off. All right, y'all, so I got the jack over here supporting that front support. Now, I did want to clarify something because I remember why I did it the way that I did before. So one of my power steering pump Allen bolts are rounded, and I couldn't take it out at the time. So what I ended up doing, I had to take this off and this off, and then I was able to come in through this way and pull it out like this. So that's why I ended up having to work around it. But in most cases, for the sake of this video, if your Allen hoses are not rounded, you can take this pulley off, and then you can actually snake it through this way, like through here, being very careful not to hit your radiator, and then you can bring it up and out through that way. That's how I did it the first time without removing any of the coolant stuff, because the first time, like I said, I didn't have to take any of that off. So with that being said, moving on, so I went ahead and I loosened this clamp here, and of course that's going to start dripping. You're going to want to take this one off as well. And I'm actually have an extra one of these, so I'm just gonna go ahead and replace it while I'm here. Already just messing around with the car. I'm just gonna go ahead and replace it now because mine's swollen. I don't know if you can, hopefully that comes up on camera well. It's swollen here. So moving on to the fan. So there's 4 10 mils right here. So what I'm gonna do is, you don't need to take the whole entire clutch assembly out. You just need to take these 10 mils off and make sure you mark where one of them is, so that way you have the correct you haven't lined up correctly, because sometimes these fans will wobble, and they will wobble and explode and destroy your freaking radiator. So make sure you do not have that happen. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of those two things I mentioned, and then I'll come back and show you my serpentine belt trick. All right, so now I got this hose disconnected here. I got the fan off, got those 10 mils off, and you can see I got my little paint pen mark right there. It's always nice to mark where you're at. Now, obviously, since my power steering pump bolt won't come out, I'm not going to deal with that this time around, as I don't really have the time to. But normally you could take this off, you could take this power steering pump pulley off, and then from here you could actually get the alternator out. This, with this being loose enough, you can see that that's enough room to get this out with the belt locked in place, with the serpentine tensioner locked in place. However, obviously, for my purposes and for anybody else who may have another issue, I will continue to do it the other way that I have to do it, due to mine being seized up. All right, so vice grips, you get some vice grips. Now you're gonna put it on the corner, or on this part of the serpentine tensioner, and you want to make sure it's, you know, the perfect size for it, so that way you can pull that tension back. Now for me, I have to put my camera down to do this. Now for me, I have like a little homemade tensioner holder here. It's just a old flat Phillips head that I didn't use anymore, but you need to make sure that the diameter of this is big enough, as this tensioner is pretty strong, so if you use something skinny, it probably will break. Now after that, you can, once you go ahead and get that in there, you can take the belt off, and then there is I believe this is a 13 mil here, and then this back here is an Allen. Once you get that off, there are, hold on, let me see if I can get this with my light. All right, so back here on the back of the alternator here, I believe that small wire is a 8 mil, and then of course the bigger wire is still it's either a 10 or 13. I can't remember off the top of my head right this second, but either a 10 mil or 13 mil. All right, so I got to put my camera down, because the way that I have to do this, for those of you that may have this pulley, those bolts being rounded, you're gonna have to take this coolant hose off and move it out of the way. Like I said, I'm replacing mine, so I got to take it all the way off anyway. And then you got to take this intercooler hose off. Now you only have to take one and then these two off, and then you can flip it out of your way, and it'll be completely out of your way, and you'll have all the room you need. Now then, one more thing, once you get those two grounds off, that power and ground off, I'm not sure if I can get this on camera, but down there is an Allen that's way down there, and that is going to be that last bolt that's holding on to the bottom of the alternator. I'm not sure if that's gonna, yeah, you can kind of see it somewhat to the left center of the screen. There's a little Allen down there, and I believe it is a 7, an Allen 7 or 6, hex or Allen, whichever one you want to call it, 7 or 6. I can't remember off the top of my head right this second, but once you get that out, it's a long bolt. So you may have to pry it from the front. My bolt does not have a nut on the front holding it in, so for me, I literally just have to push it back. Once you get that out, then the whole alternator will be loose, and then you can remove it from there. So I'm going to skip ahead real quick. All right, so I got that intake hose off. I went ahead and unplugged that idle control valve as well, just to make sure it's out of the way. Make sure that when you take that 13 mil off the back of the alternator, that you isolate it somewhere so it doesn't spark, or just disconnect the battery. I'm being a little lazy right now. And then of course make sure your ground wire is, or your other wire, I'm not really sure what that is, quite frankly, off the top of my head right now, but just make sure that's out of the way as well. Now, just so I can show you guys before I pull this alternator out, you can see that there is a bolt down there right here, and that's the bolt I was talking about right here, that's going to come out through this way throughout the back side of the alternator. Now, I don't have a bolt on here, so for me, I'm just gonna hammer it out. I have a very small tap that's like the perfect size to get this out, because like I said, this is my third time doing this. So you may not have to do this, or if you do, it will be a 13 mil nut if you do have to do it. All right, so from this point, when you put that new alternator in, everything will go back together as I have taken it apart. I do think I will cut the video here for now, just so that way I can get back home. This is my ride here, and I'm doing this right after work, and it's like 8:30 on a weekday, and I got to go to work in the morning, so I'll cut it here for now. But I will say, if there was something that I was not clear about, or if you have any questions about any other processes that you may want to see, let me know down in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like the content. You don't have to subscribe, but it's free, you know, and it lets me know that other people are watching and that they like this type of content. I do still have to do those walk around videos for you guys. I do have something else that I want to do as well. I want to tackle this because my washer jets aren't working. So as you know, that washer jet is on the side of the fender, so I need to do a video on that as well. But that'll probably be the next DIY. If not, it'll be the electric fan. So you guys just stay tight for that one. So it's been Atlas, the Audi technician. Thank you for tuning in, and y'all have a good rest of y'all's day, week, month, and good night.